All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Meyer. I'm from the University of Central Florida. I'm just going to get a stopwatch going here because I want to make sure I don't take all of Christy's time. So again, Melanie, thanks for your session. That was great. I want to talk today about this idea of loving to lead and leading with love, and I'll explain what this is as we go through our time together. As I get started, I hopefully you're all awake with the coffee, and it certainly is cold enough in the room, right? But I encourage you as I go through my talk to perhaps think about your capabilities as you never have before, or to even, if some of this is familiar to you, to perhaps embrace your capabilities as you never have before. And with that, I have a picture of some different comic book superheroes, The Incredibles, DC Comics, Batgirl, etc. up here. Think about some heroes who you have in your life. People who have made a difference, maybe because of who they are, maybe because of what they've done, maybe because of what they have accomplished. And as you think about that, I'd also encourage you to think about when are some times where maybe someone did something, a small thing, that made a big difference in your life? Or perhaps when did you do a small thing for someone else that made a big difference in their life? And I would argue that if you're thinking about people, if you're thinking about some of those situations, that all of those are different examples of leadership, okay? And leadership takes on a lot of different forms, a lot of different ways to define that. But what I would say is, and I have up here on the screen, I just want to go through and read these off, is that the way I look at leadership, it's about becoming the best version of yourself, being all you can be. It's about listening and making sure that you understand the situation at hand, you understand what's going on. Mutual benefit. Leadership is about seeking a win-win, looking for something that benefits all involved. It's about focusing on others, looking and caring about the well-being and the benefit of other people. It's about changing either the big world or at least the world in which we live, right? Where we work, where we play, our communities, our homes. I think leadership is about making a difference, wanting to make a positive difference. It's about thinking beyond constraints, looking for opportunities and possibilities, even if the barriers seem quite insurmountable. Leadership is about doing the right thing, especially when doing the right thing might be difficult, and even when no one is looking, right? It's about living with integrity. I think leadership is about living with passion, having a great energy and excitement for life and in everything that we do. Leadership is about working toward the common good. It's about taking risks, even if those risks may fail, and learning from the opportunity to do better the next time around. And again, as I kind of referenced earlier, it's about having just a real positive energy in everything that we do. And if you look at the characteristics of leadership on this screen, leadership does not equate to a title, all right? It is not about a title. So I'll take this back to our office work. I'm not talking about directors here. I believe that all of us are called to be leaders in everything that we do. And at the end of the day, I really believe it's about having a positive influence. And I have a picture here of this Ray clay person figure with their arms above their head and a bunch of maybe about 100 or so white clay figures behind, looking as though this red clay figure maybe is a positive influence on this person. And I would suggest that any encounter we have with anyone, any encounter we are involved with, any situation, at the end of the day, when we leave that encounter with a person, when we leave that encounter with the situation, we've left in our wake either a positive influence or a negative influence, maybe a neutral influence. And the choice is ours in how we want to be involved. And I hope that we all choose to, how can we be a positive influence? And I also think that leadership is about choices. And I have here a picture of two railroad tracks, one that appears to be going straight off into the as far distance as you can see on the picture, and another railroad track that makes a left turn, and we're not quite sure where it's going. And I think at the end of the day, leadership is about, and how we live our lives, we have two ways to do this. One, we could just stay on the straight track, and we could just let the train take us wherever it goes and kind of wander and meander our way through life. Or we can make that left turn on the track. We're not sure where the track is going. It may be bumpy. We're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to keep that train on the track. But we have to be more intentional about that. We have to be more actively engaged with that. And so are we going to go just on the straight track and let life take us where it goes? Or are we going to be more intentional and make that left turn and be more actively involved? And I think that's what loving to lead is about. It's about embracing our capabilities. It's about embracing our possibilities to make a difference in our world. And with that, I would also say that we are called to lead with love, and I'll explain what I mean by that as I go through the rest of the talk. And I'll first say that I'm not talking about love in the sense of you may love being here in Albuquerque, you may love the AHEAD conference, you may love seeing people you only see once a year, maybe you love the restaurant you went to last night. That's more about love the feeling, love the emotion. What I'm talking about here is more about love the verb, love the action. And I started thinking about this and getting on this idea a couple years ago when I was reading a book, and I saw this quote from former football coach Vince Lombardi, who said, and I'm sorry, it didn't pop up here, but I'll read it. What it said was that Vince Lombardi says that I don't have to like my players to be a good coach, but I have to love them. I don't have to like them, but I have to love them. And that really, really resonated with me when I read that. And his idea was that I have to be loyal to them, I have to build them up as people, I have to support them. That's what it's about. And as I continue to read through this, I found this quote from James Hunter, who said that love is the act of extending yourself for others by identifying and meeting their legitimate needs and seeking the greatest good. And perhaps one of the most well-known references to love as this idea of a verb as an action is from the Apostle Paul in the Bible, who said that love is patient and kind, love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way, it is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. So I just want to tease out through these a little bit. I want to tease these three areas of love and what this may mean in terms of how we engage with other people. Love from a perspective of patience and kindness, always hopeful, and seeking the greatest good. I believe we are all on a journey, hopefully to become better people, to become better individuals, but kind of like along the lines of what Melanie was talking about, there are going to be great successes in our lives, and we're going to have pitfalls. We're going to stumble, right? And we're all in that place. So as we're working with other people, as we're living with other people, how do we interact when people stumble, when they fall? How do we interact with other people when they do a behavior or say something that we may not feel is right or correct or whatever? Do we show them patience and kindness in those times when they stumble? Are we willing to really listen to understand what's going on? Are we quick to try to resolve and fix things without having a true understanding of where someone is coming from? I believe kindness keeps things relaxed. If you can all think about it, I know I have. There's been times where maybe you worked with a supervisor or someone who was very tense, emotionally just uptight and rigid, and how that kind of closed you in and maybe made it very difficult for you to perform to the best of your abilities. I think living with kindness and exuding kindness helps other people to be the best that they can be. And ultimately, patience and kindness focuses on who someone is and who they are becoming, who they are as a person, not necessarily a specific behavior that they're doing. Always hopeful. I'm going to focus, I think there's a lot of different ways I could focus on this. I'm going to focus on it from a perspective of strengths and weaknesses. Maybe going back to your work environment, for example, if you think about the colleagues you work with, and if I asked you to tell me the strengths and tell me the weaknesses of somebody or some people in your office, which list would be easier for you to write? Would it be easier to write the strengths list of someone, or would it be easier to write the weaknesses list? What do you focus on? I think focusing on weaknesses leads to a dead-end point of no return. It's going to get you nowhere. Focusing on strengths, I think, leads to an abundance of possibility and opportunity. And I saw this reference in something I read that if we focus on other people's weaknesses, at best, we're going to gain a 15% increase in our capacity to contribute. If we focus on our strengths, if we help other people focus on their strengths, the ability to contribute knows no bounds, okay? I don't think this also means, though, that this is a pass to avoid accountability, and I'm not saying that at all. Certainly there are times where we have to hold people accountable. If someone in your office is showing up routinely 30, 45 minutes late, and it's impacting office operations, that has to be addressed, that has to be dealt with. I think we are all called to get into that conversation with someone from a patience and kindness perspective. We can hope that there can be a better outcome, but if things don't turn around, there have to be consequences to that as well, right? But at the end of the day, are we always hopeful? Do we always believe there can be a better outcome, even when we're working with those really difficult faculty, right? As an example, this was an email I got a couple years ago from a faculty member after we sent the course accommodation letter, and the letter referenced that the student gets extended time for exams. The faculty member said, "My quizzes are pop quizzes and in-class group quizzes for assessment and enhanced learning opportunity, which is hindered by your double time and distraction-reduced environment accommodations. Please consider all consequences when you apply your generic accommodations and how they might actually hinder learning. UCF liability is but one small concern," right? Lovely email to get, right? So we've all had those emails. We've all gotten something like that before. But when we get that, I mean, probably want to respond like, what a jerk, what an idiot, there's, this guy doesn't get it, lost cause. But I think we're also called to have hope that there could be a better outcome. How can I engage in this conversation? How can I interact with this person? How can I try to understand this person's fears, concerns, hesitancies, and trying to find that win-win opportunity? How am I going to respond to this? Am I going to do it from a place of hope? And I believe that we can try to make this work. And then lastly, seeking the greatest good, and I would just take this again back to our campus environments where we work. I would imagine all of us are doing this work because we want to create access and inclusion for disabled people on our campuses. And this work entails removing those barriers, stigmas, those obstacles that are in people's way. I believe if we're doing our work well, we're empowering other people on our campuses to see where they are capable to make a difference, where they're capable of facilitating access in their sphere of influence, whether it's the classroom or advising, the rec center, whatever the case may be. And if we have this seek the greatest good mindset, and if we can make this work, amazing things can happen on our campus and within our campus culture. So I have a picture of a world here. I would just ask you to think about, imagine a world where kindness and patience was the norm, where working and putting others first is the standard, where we have hope, where we lead with love. How different might things be? And I know I talked a lot about this idea of what this means in doing this for others. From what I've read and for what it's worth from my own personal experience, if we live in this way, the amount of energy that we get, the amount of joy that we have with life, the amount of fulfillment and peace in life is amazing. And it can create this amazing cycle where we get all of this energy, peace, joy, fulfillment, giving that back to others, and giving back to others, we get more energy, joy, peace, fulfillment, etc. So it's amazing. So it's just something to really think about. So with that, I would encourage you as a takeaway to think about where can you embrace the ability to lead and to lead with love, right? Where can you do that? And maybe as a more practical example, one challenge for you as I end is where in the next week could you show leading with love with maybe someone at work, someone at home, someone in your community, where you can maybe do a small thing for someone that can make a big difference to them. Thank you.